You're listening to Kids Ministry Answers from Stuff You Can Use, from Stuff You Can Use, from StuffYouCanUse.org.
Welcome to Kids Ministry Answers. My name is Jason.
And I'm Linda, and this is the podcast where we help you answer all your kids' ministry questions.
So, Linda, a little bit about us, I guess we should start with. I'm Jason Sivright. I live in Kansas City, Missouri. I am the spiritual formation pastor at a small church called Engaged Church here in KC. Basically, every pastor on staff does all the things. So I lead kids, I lead youth, I lead worship, I preach sometimes, but kids is a big part of what I do there. And I'm also a kids book writer, so I have a lot of experience working with kids, writing for kids. And I am the creative lead at Stuff You Can Use, so you will see my work if you ever watch a Cali video, or if you watch a Grow TV episode, or, any series you might use might have my writing in it also. So that is why I'm here today.
Yes, you are. And I'm Linda Moon. I am the Executive Director of Curriculum for Stuff You Can Use. So that means I work on creating content for kids, teenagers, and all of their associated grown-ups, like volunteers and parents and families. I, like you, Jason, also am a small church pastor. I oversee the English ministry at a small church here in La Cañada, California. I serve at a Korean American immigrant church, and that has just kind of been my field for my whole life, really. That's just been my community. And I also have 2 kids, and they're 11 and 7, and they're the ones who ask me all the questions. So here I am trying to answer some of theirs and some of yours.
Right. Cool. I should have mentioned I have 2 kids too, 2 boys, 10 and 6.
Yeah, we both have 2
of
boys.
Us, yeah. Both
What
of us
a wild life we lead.
What a wild life, boys. Oh, man. Well, we should jump right into it. So here's the question that we're going to be tackling today, and it comes from Pastor Troy out in California.
How do you build momentum and get volunteers excited for the next school year?
Good
Big question. Very big question. What we all know is volunteers, and thanks for the question, Troy, by the way.
Yes.
What a great question he brings up here today. So volunteers are one of the most important parts of our ministry, probably like the most important part. We can't do much without them. And so it is important that they are excited and engaged in what we're doing. We don't want disengaged, bored, overwhelmed volunteers.
Right.
But we're also working with all sorts of folks with our volunteers, right? So I'm sure Troy's doing the same. Like, you're working with all sorts of people when you have volunteers, veteran volunteers, you have new volunteers, people that just joined the team. So I think it's a great question. What do we do to get everyone on the same page and ready for another school year? One of the best ways I've done this is a volunteer kickoff. So today what we're going to do is we're going to walk through 4 steps to help you host one of those volunteer kickoffs that's fun, that's meaningful, and actually gets volunteers fired up for what is coming next. So where do we begin, Linda?
Yeah, where do we begin? Troy, that's such an excellent question. And I love that you're thinking about it, because a lot of times when it comes to our volunteers, we forget that they are, in fact, such a vital part of our ministry, and that they are, in fact, our ministry, not just the kids. And they're not just tools that come in to help. Like, we also need to minister to them. So finding ways to keep them engaged and just set off a wonderful tone for the new year, that is such a wonderful place to begin. So let's start with the first step on building this volunteer kickoff to help motivate your team for the new year. And I would say step 1 is start with fun. And look at that, it rhymes, so you can remember it. So before you do anything else for your kickoff, come in with the mindset of making this a celebration, because you've probably had countless meetings throughout the year and your volunteers are probably accustomed to that. So already meeting with you in a room is going to feel a certain way, but you want to kick it off letting them know that we are here to celebrate you. This is a thank you party. Maybe it's even more like a pep rally, right? Just to like gear them up and like, hey, we're here for you. We love you. And
Mhm.
treat it more so like that than just kind of like a routine checklist that you have to go through.
Right.
So some things you might want to think about for this kickoff to make it fun would be adding in games and icebreakers as people arrive to your celebration, not meeting. Have good food, something other than your standard weekly pizza that you might have in your ministries. Nothing against pizza, no shade against pizza.
Yeah.
Love pizza, but maybe this one deserves just a little bit fancier menu.
Right.
Include some prizes, some giveaways, some team t-shirts. That's always really fun.
T-shirts. Yeah.
Yes, and just incorporate a lot of time for people to laugh and connect and just let loose, because
Yeah.
you want this to be like a casual setting, even though you will probably be going over a lot of important things as we'll talk about in a little bit, but you just want to set the tone with like, hey, we're here to just love you and to appreciate you. So, I mean, even a bonus idea would be like to connect it with like a bonfire, maybe if you can, or do like lawn games. And you could even use this opportunity to have them invite friends who might not want to serve yet, but are kind of interested. So they can just come and hang out with you and see what your ministry vibe is like.
Yeah, I really think it's important to have like the one fun thing, some kind of icebreaker to help them kind of get the feeling that this is going to be a celebration because like you said, there's so much information that's going to be coming at them. It's important. You need to know it. They need to be engaged with it. But you want their attention. You want them to know it's going to be fun. So you have to do something off the bat. I didn't personally do this, but I have a friend who used costumes to actually incorporate into their volunteer kickoff. So they had their volunteers dress up as different things, didn't tell them why until they got to the volunteer kickoff, and then use the costumes they were dressed as to kind of unroll what they were going to do the coming year. That was a super cool way, I thought.
That's really neat. Yeah.
Yeah, to get the volunteers engaged, to get them interested in what's going on and keep them engaged throughout the meeting as he was like unrolling what we're going to teach this year. So I thought that was super cool. So all right, step 1. What is step 2 for making a great volunteer kickoff?
So if step 1 is start with fun, step 2 is, sorry, it's not going to rhyme, it's make your environment shine. And this is super important because like we mentioned before, we want this event to feel different than a normal Sunday. And so whatever mentality you go into with planning this kickoff, like we already said, we're going to establish it as a fun thing, but now let's expand that to what they can see, like add that to your visual environment. So maybe that means setting up balloons, colorful tablecloths, some fun centerpieces, having some table games, like think of it as like you're planning a kid's birthday party, honestly. Have some fun music, some signage, maybe some slideshow of some fun events that you did throughout the year. And, if you want to take it even further, you can have like videos, printed programs to keep things really clear and fancy, but also very inviting. Like we created this for you. Like this isn't just a classroom experience. This is a space that has been created for you to feel welcome and for you to know how much you are valued in this ministry.
Right. It's so important. But I think it's something that just doesn't come to mind when you think of a volunteer right away, when you think of a volunteer kickoff, like the environment. Why do you think that they have such a big impact? Because I think it can be overlooked, maybe even feel like cheesy if we put too much into it. But we know that it matters a lot. So why do you think that is?
Yeah, and I'm going to start off with just a note of encouragement because I know all of us as kids ministry leaders, directors, like it does feel like it's a lot more work on top of a lot of work you're already doing. So it might feel a little overwhelming to think about at first, but just putting in a little more extra effort just really communicates to your volunteers that you really do want to partner with them and you are so happy that they are part of your ministry and that they are such a big part of your ministry at that. And so they are always with you trying to create environments for the kids and just being alongside you. But this is the one time where you can say, no, sit back. This is actually something I'm doing for you. And
Right.
so you do want to make it a big deal for them. And then maybe it is something that you do feel like, oh, I just cannot accomplish based on my time and resources. And that's okay. You don't have to like get into like a whole guilt shame spiral because you're not doing, the big grandiose parties. But even if you can just change the location from where you normally meet with your leaders, that's going to set a whole different tone for the
Right.
meeting. And I say this because this can also work both ways. Because I remember one time we did something similar to a volunteer kickoff where I really wanted to like onboard my leaders and like, we're gonna have a good time. But we were at a hotel. So we met inside a conference room and we were all
Yeah.
dressed up nice. And so like nobody wanted to play games. Like nobody wanted to like mess around or get messy. So they were all just sitting like really prim and proper, like more than usual.
Yeah.
Like they like literally like saluted me as I entered and exited the room. It was ridiculous. And so I was like, no, this isn't the vibe I wanted. I wanted us to just have a chill, good time. But it ended
Yeah.
up being like a business meeting. And so that was a flop. And so
Yes.
remember, those little things do count. So make it casual, make it fun, like we always talked about, but also make that environment shine and just let your leaders know that, yes, this is something that I'm willing to do for you because I love you guys and we're so happy you're here.
All right. Step 2, make it shine. Okay, what is step 3?
So step 3 would be, now that we've established the vibe, we have
Yeah.
to think about structure. So now this is where we can get a little bit more into the nitty-gritty of how to actually communicate information your leaders are going to need to lead, right? So maybe your first session is a little bit more of like the vision and the inspiration, right? We start with some games, some team introductions. You can cast vision for the year that aligns with your church's mission. You can share a story and remind them that what they do matters. And then maybe end that session with a discussion prompt like, what is your biggest hope for this year? Or what would you classify as a win for this year, to get them like thinking about the things that you had just presented to them.
Yeah.
And then you can move on to session 2. And I would say keep this session kind of light and brief because this is like heavy. I know that sounds kind of counterintuitive, but if your second session, you're going to talk a little bit about policies and procedures, that can get really drab and drawn out real fast. And so this is where you probably are going to need to talk about really important things like code of conduct, crisis protocols, calendar events. Like there are some big things that you need to talk about. But if you just like read off of your pamphlet or folder or whatever materials you've provided, it's going to just feel like, oh, I'm going to tune out after like 2 minutes maybe.
Yes.
And so if you wanted to make an impact, maybe highlight some of the key things you want to tell them from each of those sections and then say, hey, you have this manual as a resource for you if you ever need it. Just remember that you have it. And then, just use visuals, humors, maybe do a skit and make sure you're just keeping it really clear and engaging when you're communicating that part. And then after that, if this pertains to your ministry, you can do breakouts to do more like role-specific training because not everybody in your ministry might be a small group leader. Maybe they're greeters, maybe they're on the tech team, or maybe they're on the worship team. So you can split them up by their different positions and they can get a little bit deeper with like, how can we set ourselves up for success in our department? And then make sure you share any tools that they need, like handbooks, business cards, maybe a list of our ministry goals for the year. And then you want to cap it all off with making some time for Q&A because you really want to show them that you are listening to your team's concerns. And then just more time for bonding and having more fun.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So question, as a person that would probably walk away from a meeting like that with like one thing that I took away from it, what is like one piece of training? All of it's important, right? We know that. But
Sure.
What is one piece of training content that you make sure you always include in a kickoff and why? Because I think this is the time, like you said, the part of the kickoff where engagement is hard to get, but
Right.
also so vital.
Right.
So, what's the one thing that you would say, man, this has to get across to my volunteers? They have to go away knowing this one thing.
Yeah, that's a good question because absolutely, we do walk away from meetings like these or events like this and be like, wait, what did we talk about? So it's really great that you have already prepared a booklet or a handbook of resources that they can always reference throughout the year. And of course, they'll
Mhm.
have you as a resource. But something that I like to do for my leaders is I walk them through how to prep for a typical Sunday. So this is specifically more for small group leaders, but this can apply to any role. And the reason why I do that is because one, I want them to know that I'm not requiring so much prep for them that it feels
Yeah.
like a part-time job. And so I want them to know like, hey, if you're spending like 20 hours on the prep, then like let's talk about it. Like, what are you doing? And if that's something you want to do, great. I'm not going to stop you from it, but I don't want them to feel like if I don't do this, I'm not doing my job. And so I want to set that standard for them, but also in kind of like a roundabout way, I am letting them know that you do in fact need to prepare for ministry,
Right.
even if it's a small amount of time. So the way that I walk through like how you prepare is not only showing them the things that they can do, but also like putting it in their minds like, oh, right, I should probably prepare.
Right. Cool. Yeah.
Yeah. And also
So,
like
oh,
throughout the thing, I like to always include like a reflective piece for returning volunteers
mhm.
because their experiences, their stories are going to be really motivational to your new volunteers as well. So you can ask things like, what was a win? Or like, what have we done that we could do better? Or what is something that we do that maybe we don't need to do at all? And just having that back and forth and getting feedback from them, even if it's like through a questionnaire or in real time, really shows that you are listening and you want to work with them to build out your ministry.
Yeah, I love that. Asking veteran volunteers to share and getting them prepped for Sunday is like tangible stuff. They can see
Yes.
how it's been done, how it's going to look going forward. So I really love that. So, step 3, think about structure. What is step 4?
All right. So step 4 is kind of like a great commission, if you will. Not the greatest, just a commission, a great commission. So step 4 would be to send them out equipped and encouraged. Both things, equipped and encouraged. So before they walk out the door, make sure every volunteer has the aforementioned volunteer handbook. Make sure they are walking away with clear goals for the semester or year, however you split up your ministry year. Even if it's the one thing, like help them solidify what one thing to focus on. Business cards, contact info, like vital information to your ministry. And,
Yeah.
like we said, that team shirt can really help
Mhm.
build an identity and help them feel like they're part of the team because they are. They're such a big part of the team. And maybe a small gift or a thank you note that you can give them as a token of your appreciation. And just remind them once again that they're not just like filling a role. They're not just
Yeah.
there to like provide body heat. They're part of the mission. And this isn't just like prep, but this is the moment that you're truly like sending them out to really impact the lives of kids.
Yeah. So, why is it so important that our volunteers leave feeling both prepared and valued? I'm asking because this happens at the end, right? And at the end, we're all just wanting to get to the end. Like, we just want
Right,
to
right.
be done. We feel tired. We feel like we're just racing to the finish line, and we can forget this end part. So, why is it so important that this ends well and leaves them feeling valued and equipped?
Yeah, that's a good question. A lot of times in ministry, especially in kids ministry, I feel like we're just kind of overrun with schedules and programming that we don't
Mhm.
really take intentional time to deliberately thank our leaders. And maybe we thank them in passing, and maybe we tell them, oh my God, we love you so much, but it doesn't feel sincere when it's just kind of like this throwaway comment. And so designating this time for them already is a great start to let them know that, oh, wow, you are actually going to train me and you're going to show me how much I am valued here. But also, like, just the fact of the matter is, kids' ministry work is very much invisible. A lot
Yeah.
of what we're doing is planting seeds. We're not really going to see a return on that anytime soon. And so it might feel like, wow, like I did all of this. I don't really have anything to show for it. And
Mhm.
so this is a great time where you remind them that what they do matters. Maybe this is a time you bring in like a former Sunday school kid to be like, hey, look, like here are the things that he remembers from being in this ministry.
Oh,
And
yeah,
just
that'd be
to
so cool.
acknowledge how hard it is, but also how rewarding it is to do all of this for the kingdom. And in that sense, it could be even more helpful. Like this kickoff could be even more helpful for returning volunteers. Because, I mean, let's face it, your new volunteers are probably already kind of intrinsically motivated because they're like, all right, I'm going to take on this new thing. I have all this energy and hype. And your
Yeah.
returning volunteers would be like, okay,
Why
same
am I
old.
doing this
Right.
again?
Like, why am I doing this? Why should I be motivated to
Yeah.
change anything, do anything differently? But when they see those things during your celebration, they'll be like, oh, that's why. Oh, that's why I want to stick around for another year. And that's what you want to leave them with at the end of the kickoff.
Right. Or hear it in kids' story would be so cool. That's such a cool
Absolutely.
idea. So we have talked about 4 steps to get your volunteers excited for a new year. Start with fun, make your environment shine, think about structure, and send them out equipped and encouraged.
Yes, yes. This is all of this. I mean, there are more things you can do, obviously, but these are just 4
Mhm.
basic building blocks you can build into your kickoff. And all of this is really, like we are just talking about, it's really going to remind them why they said yes in the first place. And like this
Yeah.
is a really like small example, but my kids are in my kids ministry, obviously. And so sometimes I will hear things that they're talking about, something that they're reflecting on from something that they learned in their Bible study group, their small groups. And then I would, tell them, I would tell the teachers just like on the following week, I'm like, hey, my son was talking about this, like, and I would like really give them credit for them, like, oh, thank you for, engaging in them with that conversation and helping them understand. And so like, even these small wins from a week to week basis can help. But now you have this event where you can do it on a bigger scale and let them know that they truly do make a difference. And so this kickoff is truly a celebration, not an obligatory event. Another thing that I have to add to my event,
Yeah.
my event calendar, I should say. But you get to send them out into the year with vision, with clarity, and just the confidence that they belong and that they are so important to ministry.
All right. And if you need help with a volunteer kickoff, we have a resource that you can find at growcurriculum.org that'll walk you through what one of these might look like for you. So before we go, we want to ask the question that we ask in all of our podcasts, and that is, what are you into? So Linda, what are you into these days?
Jason, you know what I'm into is K-pop Demon Hunters. I have
Yes.
been talking about this all summer long. It's going to be something I talk about for years to come. That is really all we are watching and listening to in our home at the moment. We have memorized the entire soundtrack. It's
Whoa,
so fun.
memorized it?
Yes, it's an explosive soundtrack. We love it so much. And like every car ride, this is what we're listening to. Every
Love
time
it.
we're like, what should we watch? The kids are like, we're going to watch this show. So if you haven't, people, get into it. It's
Do
so
it. Yeah.
good. What
Yep.
about you, Jason?
Plan
What are
your
you
volunteer
into?
kickoff and then watch.
Absolutely. Right.
I
Plan your volunteer kickoff around this movie.
Yeah, you can listen to the soundtrack. Yep. I love that. I too, because of my friend Linda, have seen K-pop Demon Hunters, and I loved it. I love
Yeah.
Golden, especially, is my favorite song I listen
Yes.
to all the time. But we also are probably both into what our kids are into. So we've been playing
Absolutely.
a lot of tennis around the house, a lot of golf. My 10-year-old's into golf, and we're playing a video game called Stardew Valley,
Okay.
which is a farming simulator, which I know
Okay.
sounds incredibly boring, but it actually is really, really cool. You have like your own farm. It's multiplayer, so you can have like my son Isaiah can help me build up the farm and get animals and stuff. So that's what's been
Yeah.
going on.
I'll see your farm and I'll raise you a garden because that's what my kids are doing on Roblox is they're playing Grow a
Nice.
Garden. And I'm like,
Okay.
this is fun. They
I
love
know.
it.
I know. I know. It's like maybe they'll be real farmers someday because they
Yeah.
played this video game. That's the way I
And
justify it.
gardeners. So
Yeah,
hey.
gardeners, whatever. So as we wrap up this conversation, listeners, wanted you to know if you want your question to get answered on Kids Ministry Answers, you can submit your question at the link in our show notes, And last thing to think about, what is your plan for your next volunteer kickoff, and how are you going to make sure that it really counts? So we're so glad that you listened today. We'll
Yes.
see you
Thanks for
next
hanging out with
time.
us.
Yeah, thanks for hanging with us. See you next time on Kids Ministry Answers.
Bye.